day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
All right. Thank you, Kathy. I was going to say Bradford's, but I'm like, Kathy. All right, so welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goings. I'm the assistant minister here, and I want to welcome you here on this beautiful Sunday morning. I would say the one thing that I like about the cold weather is just being able to get under the blankets and get warm, and that is it. Because when you get out from under the covers, it is cold. But under the covers, it's warm. Anyways, but that's the one thing I like about winter. Our winter anyway, so it's good that it doesn't last very long. It was cold last night, so. But, yes. All right, I opened up a can of worms here. So, anyways, we come together every Sunday to remember our truth, that we're whole, perfect, and complete, and we are beautiful expressions of the divine. So a couple of quick announcements. One is that the men's group, we're meeting next Saturday. We meet always the second Saturday of the month at Brothers Restaurant. So if you're a man, we are inviting you. We get together, we have breakfast, and we tell lies to each other and just enjoy each other's company. And then on Sunday, the other thing we do on Saturday is we plan for our Sunday brunch, which is the Dining with the Dudes. So please join us on Sunday for Dining with the Dudes. So that's next weekend.
And I'll absolve you of all your sins.
Yeah. Another announcement is Reverend Karen's phone somehow has been hacked, and so she's there's been text messages going out asking for from her phone number, or not from her phone number, but from just a text message.
Looks like it's from me. It's not from me.
Right, and it's asking for you to buy gift cards or something like that. So, Reverend Karen wouldn't text you to buy anything. So just delete. Just press delete and move on. That's all I'm going to say. All right, so I'm really excited about this weekend and also for the whole month, because this is our pledge program this month, and for the month of November, and our Seeding the Future pledge program theme this year is called Unearthing Our Treasures. So a few years ago, we changed our name, our pledge program name, to Seeding Our Futures, because each one of us is always planting seeds for our future. So all the decisions we make and all the actions we take, we are personally planting seeds for our personal future. But collectively, we're also doing the same thing as a community. So all the people that volunteer, Reverend Karen, Cheryl, myself, and our board, we are all planting seeds for our spiritual home. So your yearly financial pledge is Seeding Our Future, and we're asking for you to continue to support by completing a pledge card. you should receive a pledge card in the mail along with a letter from Reverend Karen. So our goal this year is to collect 40 pledge cards with the pledge amount of $80,000 or more. I want to share some fun stuff about the pledge program. So again, you'll receive the pledge card in the mail, and if you forget your pledge card, you can. We have extra pledge cards here that we can give one to you, so you can fill it out. But you can bring your pledge card in. You can drop it off in the gold box. It's in Home's Base in the bookstore. You can give your pledge card to me. You can give your pledge card to Reverend Karen, or you can mail it in. So when you complete your pledge card, we would like for you, we're inviting you to go to the back of the room, and then so you see this beautiful sand bowl that Reverend Karen has created up here on the platform. We also have one in the very back of the sanctuary, and so in the bowl of sand, there are gemstones that Reverend Karen collected, and so and she's also provided a description about each one of those gemstones. So we're asking that as you complete your pledge card and you submit your pledge card after service or before service, you can go to the back of the room, reach your hand in there deep in the sand. It's okay if you make it a little messy, and you can pull out a gem. And then you can read the message that Reverend Karen has information about the gemstone that you pull out of the sand. So what we would like for you to do is we would like for you to keep that gemstone with you the entire month, all 30 days. Keep it with you always, so you can hold the intention with us of seeding our future. In addition to that, we would like for you to pray daily holding your gem and know the abundance of yourself as well as the abundance of our community. So our goal this year is to collect 40 pledge cards with the amount of $80,000 or more. So please join us in knowing this truth for our community. So I want to close with the quote from Judy Garland. "The greatest treasures are those invisible to the eye, but found by the heart." So that is our kickoff for our pledge program. So now I'd like to turn the service over to Kathy so we can get settled in our seats. We can open up our hearts and minds for Reverend Karen's beautiful message. Thank you.
So just take a deep breath. Get into that peaceful place. I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
Be Be still and know. Be still and know that all of God's treasures are within you. The treasures of love, peace, joy, happiness, prosperity, and abundance. God is all that and more. God is expressing in every plant, every tree, every street, every car, every person, every being in this universe. It is all God. And what I know of God, I know for each of us in this room and those beyond, that we all within us have God's treasures because we are one with the divine. And I claim and affirm this for all of us, knowing that we are the divine expressions of God. And I speak a word of blessing on everyone in this room and everyone watching online and those who are not with us. I speak a word of blessing, knowing that each one of us is that divine treasure. And a blessing for Kathy, knowing that her music is absolutely beautiful and permeates our beings with that love and joy and that beautiful expression of harmony. And for all of those in service today who are in the right place at the right time. And for Reverend Karen, knowing that her words are the divine expressions of God. And we are open to receiving her treasures, the words of God that are spoken through her. And for all of those from other faith traditions, knowing that there are many paths to that one God. And I'm so blessed knowing this. And I release my words into the law, knowing it is already done, it is so. And together we say, and so it is. My reading today is from A New Design for Living by Ernest Holmes. And it's in the section, Important Things in Life. There was a time when everyone believed the world was flat. This belief was so universally entertained that everyone's reasoning was based on the conception of a flat world. It was not until someone broke down the old patterns of thought that a new conception could take its place. The new concept did not create a round world, but it did hasten the possibility of people's experiencing it. And so it is with everything in life. We should always be breaking down old patterns of thought and creating new ones out of greater vision. The question that presents itself then is, how are we going to know whether or not this process we are sometimes discarding a truth and accepting a fallacy? This no man can answer with absolute certainty, but must depend upon experience, a sort of trial and error method in which he ascertains the veracity of his new ideas. So let's take that into contemplation. And so it is.
So I picked this song, and I'm really excited about it. About a week ago at my favorite thrift store, they had the book Godspell. Do you guys remember that? Oh, it just brought me back to that time. And then I looked in there this weekend, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is perfect for seeding our future. And this song is called All Good Gifts. If you remember the chorus, sing it with me. Ready? Plow the fields and scatter the good seed on the land, but it is fed and watered by God's almighty hand. snow in winter, the warmth to swell the grain, the breezes and the sunshine, and soft, refreshing rain. All good gifts around us are sent from heaven above. So thank the Lord, oh thank the Lord for all his love. We thank thee then, O Father, for all things bright and good, the seed time and the harvest, our life, our health, our food. No gifts have we to offer, for all thy love imparts, but that which thou desirest, our humble, thankful hearts. All good gifts around us are sent from heaven above. All good gifts around us are sent from heaven above. So thank the Lord, oh thank the Lord for all his love. I really want to thank you, Lord. I really want to thank you, Lord. I really want to thank you, Lord.
Beautiful. You know, Kathy Bradford, I think it's been quite a few years since we ever heard you without him. You still got it. You still got it. Although, wasn't it a little weird in that song where Rod starts and he's got that really low and then that was very weird. Which tells me how absolutely marvelous it is that we've gotten so accustomed to it that it's exactly what I've always wanted. It's just that thing that moves us right into that space. It's like, oh yeah, now we're stepping into the sacred part of Sunday morning. So good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to see you. Welcome, welcome. It is indeed the kickoff of Seeding Our Future, a very important time to all the leaders here in the community, because the month that we dedicate to stewardship is where we look at the upcoming year, 2023. So think about it. We can't even make a budget for this center until we know what your giving intentions are. And that's what stewardship is for, so that we can all come and work together. And remember, I think we just mailed the cards on Friday. Did they get mailed on Friday, Cheryl? Saturday, so you won't have received them yet, but you're going to get them on Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to guess that they'll be there. And then we will have in future weeks a stack of blank cards so that you don't have to remember to bring it back if you just want to fill it out and drop it in the gold box out in the home space. We always have the same every year. I made that gold box when I first got here. It was really fun. So we have this really pretty gold box. And it says giving intention cards or something with a big arrow. And that's where you place your intention. And remember, it's not monitored. We don't watch to see if you're paying that amount. One of my favorite experiences that happened here was a woman came to me and said, I've been gone for a year because I wrote something I couldn't honor on my intention card and I was embarrassed. And I looked at her and said, don't ever do that again. Fill out a card, put an amount on it, and then that's just what you think right now, whatever your circumstances are, that you'll be able to meet it. You can always change it, alter it, let us know. But that's where we start. We're not magicians. We can't guess. So we really appreciate those of you, and it's very reasonable that we should get those 40 cards and make that $80,000 goal. Which is only a portion of how we pay the expenses here at the building. Another good chunk of income comes from our thrift store and our events. So thank you for supporting all of that. And oh my goodness. And Reverend, I don't see him anymore. It's so embarrassing when that happens, right? You run to talk to him and he stepped out of the room for a minute. Mm-hmm. Mark, I'll talk to you instead. You're his other half. I was just going to say, and we're about to get the new carpeting too, aren't we? Yeah, we're really ready to move ahead with that. The events were so successful. Thank you so much. And I want you, because of that, I want you to walk around and look at how awful the carpet is in here before it gets changed, so you can really, really appreciate how amazing it is to be in a community that, while other churches are shutting their doors and not having attendance, we are doing this. Our percentage of what we were and what's showing up now is above the national average, and I'm really proud of you for that. We have done a good job. So we chose a great theme called Unearthing Our Treasure. And so I created 2 displays. One up here is mostly for me so I can play with the sand and fish for gems in it in the same way you're going to do in the back. And so whether or not you fill out an intention card, I want you to make an intention in your heart. And I want you, sometimes before this month is over, at some point I want you to go back to the altar that I created over the weekend. There's a beautiful vessel of sand filled with beautiful gems, and I want you to stand before that bowl, and you can even look at yourself in the mirror. I put it under there intentionally because we're talking about unearthing the treasure that's within us and that's here emerging within this community. So I want you to go back there with or without a card, a written intention, to make an intention in your heart of what you bring to this community and a blessing for this community, and stick your hand in that sand. Don't look. It's buried treasure. I want you to stick your hand in and find the gem that is absolutely yours. There are 12 different stones in each bowl, but you're going to fish from that one so that I can keep this one pristine for the whole month. And we will tidy up back there. I think it'll be really simple because it's quite a big container. It's like a chalice. It's so beautiful. I usually only use it for water ceremonies, and it occurred to me that it would be lovely to put a little different twist on what we're doing for the theme. So that's how you're going to participate. That's your role. And then, as Clyde said, when you pull the stone out, I also made a master list of the 12 stones that are represented in the bowl. And then there's a little card that tells you the properties of each stone. But these are different. These are not the properties that you might look online and ask, what is rose quartz good for? A lot of you already know that. Somebody shouted out, what do we use rose quartz for? Love, yeah. See, so there's a great thing. No, what I did was I went to the mother of New Thought, Emma Curtis Hopkins. How many of you know that in her 12 lessons, she names a stone? There are 12 stones she assigns to every lesson, 1 through 12. And everything she writes is in 12s. Every lesson she taught was in 12 lesson segments. And every person that started a New Thought church studied under Emma Curtis Hopkins in person. So what I did was I took Emma's variation of those stones, and I was wondering, why are they slightly different? Why do they never match up anywhere when you look at the 12? So what I'm going to tell you is Emma is a Christian mystic, and so all of her writings are heavily based in Scripture, but in the symbolic representation of both Old and New Testament. And so her 12 stones are the way she intuited two different stories of the 12 gemstones that are in the Bible. Anybody know where either of them come from? I know, we don't know this. We just think it's neat that stones have certain spiritual properties. We don't even realize that biblically, the 12 gemstones were first mentioned in the Old Testament pertaining to the 12 tribes. So on the breastplate, oh, see, you did know that. You could have raised your hand. You'd have been the only one here. I know there's a couple more, too. But Aaron's breastplate had 12 stones representing the 12 tribes, which were of the 12 brothers, 12 sons of Jacob, the 12 brothers that became then the 12 tribes of Israel. And then again, in the New Testament, in the book of Revelation, the 12 stones appear again, and they are called the 12 foundation stones of New Jerusalem. The 12 foundation stones of New Jerusalem, and they were a part of structuring the altar in the temple as it was being rebuilt. So there's a lot of history here, and Emma seemed to simplify the 12 stones. And by the way, here's an interesting fact. In no single book did she list the 12 stones. You have to fish through all her books to accumulate the knowledge that's on those little slips of paper back there. So I had a little help. I didn't read all of her. She's really prolific also. So that's what we're doing. We've got this beautiful visual vessel of sand that contains 12 gemstones, and of course they're just symbolic. They're not obviously I didn't spend money on a bunch of emeralds for you and for the green ones, and they're all just representations. And symbolically, that's how I want you to use them as you pray this month. You want to play? Are you in? All right, good. We worked hard to make it kind of fun for you. So let's talk about sand. This is a microscopic close-up view of sand. Did you know that? I stumbled on a photo like this in Pinterest when I first got interested in Pinterest way back when. And what you can see if you look at the microscopic look at the sand is that the sand is all the stuff that's found on the beach and in the water. It's pieces of shells, it's pieces of coral, it's parts of little stones that get worn down and from the movement. So the ocean is always moving. There's an ebb and a flow, and then it's changing the actual shape of the coastline constantly. Not even because of global warming, it would do that anyway, because that's what it does. And as the stuff breaks down, it becomes sand. But here's the point I wanted to make at the top of the message this morning, is that sand, if you look at it really close up through the help of microscopic technology, what you will see is that it is absolutely true to what it is. It's not that it isn't what it used to be anymore. It's still absolutely true to the purity of what sand is. And I thought that was a beautiful way of sort of looking at our own experience. Sand is a little bit of everything that it comes from, and so are we. We are a little bit of everything that we come from. I got my dad's brown eyes. I got my mom's tenacity. Right? I got my Native American ancestry that makes me a great healer. And I have my Russian heritage that allows me to really resonate with the mystic side of spirituality. And more than all of that, and you have all of that, you just don't have it in the combination I have it, right? Yours is slightly different. So we have all of that, but in addition to that, if you looked under some kind of a divine measuring microscopic tool, you would see God stuff. You would see that at the essence of who we are is the pureness of spirit itself, that there's an intelligence in us that is absolutely divine and it can never be diminished. So it may look like the sea is taking back the cliffside, but it's all part of one whole system and nothing is really out of order. What becomes out of order is when we build a house on the cliffside, right? And then the erosion changes the stability of things. And that's exactly how life is. I love that slide. Would you just leave that up for the whole time I'm talking? Thank you. So let's talk about the way the ocean and the sand and the sea itself, the beach, everything we love about it. Let's talk about the way the ocean has always been a source of inspiration for us. What are some of the God qualities that we sense when we're sitting at the edge of the sea? Just shout them out. Infinity, peace. What a power. Say it again. Abundance, grains of sand and ocean, a fish. Cycles, the movement, the ebb and the flow. What have I missed back there? Life. It all adds up to the same thing when it's all said and done. So we are inspired because there's some real obvious divinity, some God qualities that that lure us to sit at the edge of the ocean. I mean, I think that one of the first words that came up was peace, and I even find the rhythm of big, powerful waves to be peaceful in the rhythm of it, right? So even in a tumultuous kind of sea, we can still find some comfort in witnessing life in all kinds of different moods. You know, the sea changes. The mood of the sea, the weather, all of that changes, and we get to witness it. Years ago, I memorized this poem. I'm hoping I don't have to look at my notes. Emily Dickinson, my favorite poetess, said these words: "Exultation is the going of the inland soul to sea, past the houses, past the headlands, into deep eternity. Bred as we among the mountains, can the sailor understand the divine intoxication of that first league out from land?" I did it. Yeah. Years ago, I learned that because it so speaks to me about why I love the sea. There's something divine and intoxicating that overcomes me. When I love to write, when I'm sitting by the ocean, I love to journal or write. And it's not like any other time I write in my life. It comes, what I bring home from a trip like that is so inspiring and poetic and so beautiful. And so, we have said from this pulpit, we meaning me, you have heard me say from this pulpit. In fact, I quoted this passage only about 2 weeks ago, but it is very fitting for me to reapply it because it's what I'm feeling for our Seeding Our Future experience this month. And it's that quote from Antoine Saint-Exupéry where he says, "If you want to build a boat, don't teach people to gather wood. Teach them to long for the sea." I want to build a boat. This is our vessel. This sanctuary, this building, this is the vessel that was in somebody's vision in 1976 when a group of people came together, a small group of people came together and had a vision for a church of religious science on the west side of the Phoenix Valley. And they created a name for us. They created a future for us. They created a vision statement. They had affirmations, and they had people that came together, and Eventually they found this building. They had bought property that they then decided not to build on, and they realized it would be financially wiser to move into this building. In 1995, they'd only been in the building a few years by then. In 1995, they paid off the mortgage of this building. Had that not happened, every Sunday would be a real different experience, because we would need to generate more income to be able to do what we do and to pay for a mortgage too. But they paid off our mortgage. And we are so blessed that during the last 2 to 3 years, we have been building our boat so that it is structurally more sound. You know, we have the air conditioning, we've painted the interior, we're getting the carpeting, and we are about complete with some of the big visions that I had for this community when I first stepped foot in here. When I first stepped foot in this building, they were giving me a tour on a Saturday morning, and Nancy Noel was probably the person leading the tour. Dean Henson would have been there, and Sharon Palafis, and they were giving me a tour, and we were standing in the back of this room talking, and I said, "Oh, this is lovely, and where's the sanctuary?" Because it didn't look like a sanctuary to me. First of all, it didn't have that. And for me, a baby grand piano is part of what makes a room a sanctuary, right? And so we worked, and I had did I see Tracy come in? No? Oh, okay, never mind. I hallucinated Tracy here. Tracy Herrick knew how passionately I felt about this. And by the way, every board I had for the first 3 or 4 years tried to find us a baby grand piano because I wanted it so much. And at any rate, we have that. And we changed all of this. We created an altar up here in the front. We brought in things that made it look like a spiritual center. And now when you walk in this room, there's no question. Our vision and purpose statement is on the wall. We know that we align to the teachings of Science of Mind, and that is a scripture that in one fell swoop describes what we believe. We believe you are transformed by the changing of your mind. And you know what the world needs more than anything right now? Changing of mind, right? Even us, we want to change our mind. We want to get clear in the things we do want to think about and the ways we do want to contribute to life and what we do see in our future as individuals as well as this beautiful collective community. And so I want to build the boat. Now, we've done the structural work, but what I want to do now is I want to build this in such a way that more and more individuals are waking up to that inner longing to have a relationship with God, to see spiritual possibilities, to recognize the longing in your heart is not the addiction. The longing in your heart is not the perfect partner or your soulmate. The longing in your heart is a reconnection to the divine and to the divine life, and to see that we have a power and a presence and a guiding force in our lives that can carry us through anything. And didn't we just prove that by getting on the other side, showing our resilience to a virus and being willing to show up in community again? It's so moving to me. So this is a place where we can feel safe. This is a place where we can have fun. This is a place where we can connect with people that think like us. We can be nurtured here. This is a ship, if you will, and the way I see that symbolically is that it is a vessel. The ship is a vessel that promotes passage across a sea of possibilities. That's what we are. That's why we seed our future, so that we can know that year after year we can follow that legacy that has been given to us, and meanwhile we can go deep in the wisdom we're seeking to embody. We can see new horizons on this planet and be part of the change that's unfolding. We can encounter new experiences and know that we are always floating in this vessel that's pure principle. It is the principle of this teaching that keeps us afloat. Let's talk for a minute about the principle of flotation. Everybody knows iron should sink. And yet, we make ships of iron. We have these heavy, multi-tonned vessels that float on the water in the ocean, and they're designed to endure vicious storms. And what they've done is they've created something that would seem impossible to the people that lived on the planet before us, that understood physics, not quite as much information as we have, but readying us for what we know and what we have. And not only do we make these gigundo ships that float on the water, but then we load them up with people and with cargo, and we use them to get goods from one place to another. And then when was it, in 2020 or 2021, and that ship got stuck sideways in the Suez Canal. And then suddenly we see what happens when we can't transport goods. And then we became aware of that it was getting more difficult to get things from here to there, and we'd had all these interruptions. So we get that we have the consciousness of humanity has studied the principles of physics to make a ship float and to transport people. And we could go on a cruise and just have fun if you so desire to do that. It doesn't make sense that iron would float, except when you shape it in just the right way, it aligns to other physical laws. So the first thing we do, if you are moved to take a boat across an ocean, and by the way, most of our ancestors had to do that. For those of you who are indigenous and from the Americas, you are of the few who did not have to travel on a rickety boat and get across a very big body of water in order to establish a new life. But we trust that intelligence that helped us find the boats. I love the reading today, by the way. I thought one of my favorite Holmes quotes is where he said, he was talking about the flat earth, and he said, I love this, but I used it so much when I was new here that I'm shy about reiterating it. So I'm happy you brought it up. But a bunch of people believing the world was flat did not flatten the earth. That's what Holmes says, right? And so use that when you're feeling a little superstitious about a thought that just moved through your mind. Just know it doesn't have to change my whole life. Let it pass, make a better decision down the road. I think it's really a beautiful illustration of that. So we align ourselves to the principles, and this is why we study spiritual principle, because the better we understand it, the more effectively we can use it. And in the same way, then, that an ocean liner can stay afloat simply by physics, we have within us something equally miraculous. And today I'm calling it the rarest gem, because we're talking about looking for our hidden treasure. And the hidden treasure I want you to think about today is that rarest gem that abides at the center of your own being. It's a hidden treasure of immense value, but it's of no value to us if we don't learn about it. Here's the words of Ernest Holmes. We have discovered the rarest gem that has ever been found, and it is sitting in the intellect of the human race. Complete simplicity, complete directness, a freedom from fear about the unknown and about God. Simple, direct, leads us right to freedom. Freedom of what? Freedom of fear. Freedom of fear and freedom of all the things we don't quite understand. And that's what every spiritual center, every faith tradition is about, calling people together to look at this so that we can be freed from the fears, and that we can then begin to set patterns in our own life in the same way that we didn't hear Rod, and it sort of was offsetting for a minute in that song that we love so much. It reminds us that, it's just something different. So it throws you for a second, and then you hear Kathy sing in a way we've never heard you sing. You know, we've never heard you do that song without him. So you see that there are multiple ways of doing that. So we let go of our fears, and we begin to recognize that everything we need is already given to us. We just have to unearth our treasures. Now, I would say, I think that we as a part of the human population, we have instincts to protect that which is important to us. We protect ours, right? You know, we do. My husband once said, "Oh, heck yeah, I would steal to feed my family if we didn't have any food." You know, and I went, "What? That doesn't fit with, yeah, really?" And he went, "Oh, damn straight I would," you know, and I knew he would. And actually it kind of comforted me to think that he would do whatever it took. One time we lived in California, an earthquake happened, and I said, "What if you couldn't have gotten home to me?" And he said, "Oh, honey, I'd have gotten home. If I had to steal a motorcycle and drive through the rubble, I would have gotten back to you." And I knew that he would, right? So we have that instinct where, you know, how is it that a mom can lift a car off a kid? You know, we have something in us that's of the rarest quality, and it helps us unearth our treasures. Makes us want to be good stewards to our planet and in our neighborhoods and in our spiritual community. We have an instinct for that. Because within us is that rarest gem that is always motivating us. So, you know, if we had a God-like microscopic device that could measure that godness inside of us, we would be able to see that how rare that gem is. We would be able to examine our molecules and our and as Holmes says, I love this quote, we would learn to see as God must see. You know, God doesn't see us the way we see ourselves. God doesn't see in that mirror something reflecting back. God sees the truth at the core of who and what we are and how we are made. So we would be amazed if we had some kind of a tool where we could see how much intelligence is in there. Every cell of our body, every molecule, every part of us is pure intelligence operating at a very high frequency, keeping our life in a certain configuration to sustain us. And that is absolutely true, or you wouldn't be sitting here wherever you're sitting. You wouldn't be hearing these words right now, right? Or at least not in a human body, you wouldn't. Know thyself. Cicero said 100 years before the master teacher Jesus walked to the earth, Cicero said, "Know thyself." The context of that quote says, "The precept, know thyself, was not intended to hinder the pride of humankind, but rather it was that we might understand our own worth." Even before Cicero walked on the earth, we have from the Tao, see, these sacred words from the Tao precedes by 500 to 700 years, precedes the time of Jesus. When you suddenly realize the source of mind, you open a box of jewels. Your essence contains all flavors. It is the supreme delicacy worth more than 10,000 ounces of pure gold. Your essence is precious. More than 10,000 ounces of pure gold. That's a lot. So we've learned some stuff. We have learned some stuff in the last couple of years. Woo, boy, howdy did we learn some stuff. We're still learning. But the reality of life is that sometimes it carves us out. And in the aftermath of any crisis, there's cleanup work to be done. Which is sort of funny because we were cleaning up this building in the middle of the crisis. Right at the beginning of it, we went, woo, nobody's here. Let's do the deep cleaning. We had all the vents off the walls. And oh, my goodness, we cleaned and we painted and we did all kinds of unbelievable things to the benefit of the building. But when you're cleaning up after a storm, once in a while, the light will reflect just so on a pile of rubble, and you will see a glimmer of light in the rubble. Something is shining in there. What looks like trash that you're just going to sweep up and throw away. There'll be something glorious, a shimmer of light. It's a glimmer of hope in a very dark night. It's a gem of naked truth that gets exposed in that process of deconstruction. See, I believe, and you have heard me say, I believe that we have been sort of divinely deconstructed in some faiths. They actually have a God that represents that destructive breaking apart, right? So I believe that we have this opportunity where we have been sort of clearing away the rubble, and in this great way, we've been making this building more and more beautiful. It's so perfectly symbolic. And we see the shining light. We see the quotes. We see the vision and the mission. We've reestablished community outreach. We had a party. We celebrated and we shared each other's company and celebrated together like we desire to do. And so there's this shining light, this sliver of hope, this ray of light that keeps calling us forward. It reminds me of the story of the Golden Buddha. True story. I have a picture of it in my office that I took with my camera when I lived in Thailand. I lived in Thailand. It makes me laugh now to think, I lived in Thailand. What a funny thing to say. The Golden Buddha is like a 5-ton structure that's quite large, pure gold, and it was around the 8th century, and the Burmese, it was rumored that the Burmese were on their way to invade the capital. Ayutthaya was the capital at the time. And so the monks there that were in charge of all the sacred art covered that Buddha with concrete, so that it would just look like any other heavy statue, and maybe the Burmese would leave it alone. And all of the smaller cement statues are still there in Ayutthaya, and they chopped off their heads, and they left them there to remember that happened. No one survived that war. So the monks that hid the Golden Buddha under the cement were dead. Nobody was there to point out that there was something magnificent under all that cement. And what happened was there was a point where they were moving the capital of Thailand from Ayutthaya to Bangkok. And the story, there are a couple versions of the story, but the crane broke, and then it rained all night, and then the monk came back in the morning and was praying over this Buddha, hoping they could get it safely transferred to the new capital where it really deserved to be. And he saw, as the sunshine came out, a glimmer of gold shining. And they discovered that there was a solid gold giant Buddha under all that cement. And they saved it. So we use that as a metaphor of the light within us, right? The rarest gem that's within us, the truth of our divinity. And we realize that life goes on. Life has an insistence that it will continue. And I think we did that so beautifully in 2020 when things like fell apart and we were all going, whew, what? At first we're like, maybe. And then it wasn't too long before our lives were literally shut down, and churches could no longer gather publicly anymore. And what happened? All kinds of remarkable gems appeared almost out of nowhere, just to step up and make sure that church would go on, that the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living would continue to do Sunday services, and we would, in fact, thrive when it was said and done. And you know what? We did it exactly the way Holmes described it in that quote above. We did it simple, we did it direct, and we did it free of fear. Now, that is not to say we didn't have the fear of the virus, but we we consciously made a choice to know that there's a power and a presence that's greater than we are, and it's greater than any virus as well. And we will do what we need to do, and we will find ways to do it safe, and we did. Not one time did we have an encounter with COVID in all those months that we gathered together, 4 or 5 of us, and Cheryl and I came to work almost every day. We kept things running, and we did it well. And a whole bunch of gem-like souls, came together to pull it off. Individuals set aside their own fear of the unknown. And let's face it, remember, there was a whole lot that was unknown and very scary. And in fact, there's still a lot unknown. We're still trying to figure it all out. Remarkable things happened. Remarkable people showed up, and we did remarkable. And the theme I have decided, and I have announced to the board, our theme for next year is going to be, let's be remarkable. Because we already proved we know how to do that. So we kept going. We did it beautifully, miraculously. We were forced to trust in this teaching and align ourselves again and again and again. Imagine, you did too. But, we restored our memory of the presence and power of God in our own lives individually every time life felt wobbly. And well, you know what we did? We put more faith in God than we did in the virus. In other words, the virus was isn't it funny? Isn't it ironic how minute a tiny virus is, and yet how powerful a tiny virus became in all of our lives? Hands down, we have lived through nothing even close to that. So even more so did we have to then go back again and again and again and cleanse our minds and remember what we believe and keep ourselves safe at the same time. And we did that. Everybody had to reconfigure their life. Everybody. I remember watching the news commentators filming from their homes, and the people on The Voice or America's Got Talent from their homes, they're like, and even the people that were auditioning were filming themselves from their homes because the show went on. And we did the same thing. We found ways to do that here too. And now we're building something new. So, I want to build a boat. I want us to just use that metaphorically, that we are building something that is allowing us, it's the spiritual principle. We're understanding the dynamics of the mechanics of spiritual principle, keeping afloat in this life, no matter what comes our way. And we are... My desire for you is that you will pay attention to the longing of your soul as we seed the future of this community, as we prepare ourselves to move through the Christmas season and step into our new year and all of that. The treasure is everywhere around us, but the treasure, the rarest gift, is right there in you. So in the same way that the sea is inspirational to us, that we feel the presence of God when we sit at the side of the sea. Let us remember again that the same is true for spiritual community, that exaltation is the going of the inland soul to this vast, beautiful sea of life. That's what I wanted to say today. So take a breath. Take a nice, deep, powerful, cleansing breath and just exhale and know that you are right here, right now. And that along with everything that is true about us and about life, also right here is the power and the presence of God. So we take a moment to check within, to sense that love at the core of our being. And to remember again that that's God, that's the activity of life. That is the ebb and the flow, the high tide and the low tide all coming together for us to recognize the longing of our soul. And so in this moment, we unify with that force of love. We unify with that essence of God. We recognize that there is a wisdom within us that has been awakened this morning, and we unify with that intelligence that allows us to see the whole of it, that allows us to know that storms come and storms go, and that always in the rubble, no matter how dark it may seem, there is a flicker of light. There is a flicker of truth. And as we remove the stuff that's no longer needed and we pull out that rich and beautiful gem, that piece of truth, that light, that divine illumination, we can breathe freely and know again that we abide in this universe that sources us with everything we could possibly need. And so we feel and sense that love. We count our blessings. We remember again what a great gift it is to have a spiritual community that we can call our spiritual home. And that we are indeed good stewards, that we are planting seeds of possibility for all of our tomorrows in the same way that the people before us planted seeds of possibility that we might be here now. And so I feel that love, and I know that movement, that quickening within is the very love of God. That is the healing force in our lives. So anything that may appear to ail us in a physical way, we know that already our beautiful, brilliant, perfect bodies have the instinct to respond to whatever that interference or that blockage might seem to be, that there's something in our body, that intelligence that is working right now, breathing our lungs, pumping our blood, beating our heart. And therefore, everything is perfect in our world. And the same is true of our relationships, that wherever there has been a deconstruction, an upset of any sort, that it is simply the rubble falling away so that we can see that inner light, that we can find the rarest gift that lives in the center of that relationship, that we can claim what is ours, and that we can love each other freely, knowing that this universe supports that love, that it is God itself that is the impulse of love. And so we just allow that love to flow and to bless our lives and to bless our finances. And therefore, we can be confident that this spiritual community is amply blessed in this giving intention, commitment that we are stepping into for the month of November. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, infinite spirit, for all of this wisdom, for all of this awareness, for the way in which we are willing to put our hand in the sand and recognize the perfection of life just as it is. With great, great gratitude, I simply release the words of this prayer, knowing indeed that they return to us and multiplied abundantly. We release together, and together we say, and so it is. Amen. Amen.
right, thank you, Kathy. We are grateful. So now is the time to celebrate the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our community. So let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
We almost got it. Yeah, good to be alive, honey. Good to be alive. Okay. It's okay. No, I don't. Yeah. Is it? I think it doesn't start with that intro for this particular recording. Well, try it again. Let me hear it. Maybe it. Pretty sure that's the first one, though. Well, let's hear what happens after. I'm sure it's not good. Oh yeah, yes you're right. Please rise for the last song. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Now sing it. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive.
Right. Thank you, Kendra, again. Thanks, Kathy. That was wonderful. But you know what was really neat is that when we realized it was the right song, everybody just like jumped up. We didn't even have to ask you to rise. It was like, all right, this is it. So that was beautiful, you guys. So thank you. All right, so let's say our closing affirmation together. So if you could repeat after me. I live an abundant life. We are abundant. And so it is.